Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of STAGR Cast, the podcast that takes you deep into the world of hunting and tracking around the Northeast. I'm your host, Adam Lamson, and today we have a special guest joining us from Orleans, Vermont, the knowledgeable Gerald Fortin. If you're not familiar with Gerald, chances are you stumbled upon a video or two of his on YouTube. Gerald is a respected figure in the hunting community and is renowned for his expertise in tracking bucks across the sprawling landscapes of the Northeast. With an illustrious career that spans several decades, he has amassed a wealth of awe-inspiring buck stories that will undoubtedly keep you on the edge of your seat. In this episode, we dive into Gerald's wealth of knowledge and expertise as he shares his secrets for tackling the daunting challenges of the big woods. We'll explore the intricate world of big buck behavior, discovering the signs and the signals that only a seasoned tracker like Gerald would interpret. But it's not all about technique and strategy. Gerald reminds us of the true essence of hunting and tracking, the joy of being out there, surrounded by nature, and making cherished memories with the people you love. We'll hear about some of Gerald's best days in the woods, where triumph and adventure intertwine and the thrill of the chase becomes a lifelong passion. Moreover, Gerald emphasizes the importance of family and community in his hunting journey. He believes in passing down the traditions and values to the next generation, and will explore how he gets his loved ones involved, sharing the joy and bonding that comes with every moment spent in the great outdoors. Whether you're new to tracking or you're a seasoned hunter, this episode is a must-listen. Join us as we embark on the riveting journey through Gerald's vast experiences, wisdom, and passion for the hunt. Once again, thank you for tuning in to STAGR Cast. We greatly appreciate the support, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Let's dive in. You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear. Old New England accent is awesome, the stories. But, all right, you guys ready?
Yep.
All right, welcome back to another episode of STAGR Cast. We are up here in the Northeast Kingdom today, and we're with a requested guest. He's got a YouTube channel on YouTube, Big Buck Killer Tracker. Gerry Fortin. How's it going, Jerry?
I'm doing well.
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for doing this with us. Like I said, had some people request you, so.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Message you, and
he just pulled a few fresh cold beers right out of the stream behind us. You might hear the stream trickling.
Yeah.
It's life's good right now.
Sitting outside, sun shining, get some river cold beers, and start talking some deer hunting. Right? So for those that don't know you, Jerry, why don't you do a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into hunting, where you're from, all that type of stuff, the states you hunt, and kind of go from there and roll into some stuff.
All right. Well, I born and raised in Vermont. My dad was not a deer hunter, so I didn't learn it from him. It was my brother and I who really had a passion for it. When we were pretty young, and we would feed off each other. And of course, he had his license. He was an older brother, so he took me out. When I was 13, I think, and he was 16. So he would start driving, and we do partridge hunting. And started that way, kind of like most kids, killing small game. And
yeah.
And then, deer season rolled around, and we do a little of that. And my uncle Bill, was a really good deer hunter, and he would take us out. Their style of hunting was making drives. That's what we did.
Oh yeah.
For a long time, I thought that's what hunting was. Deer hunting was you make drive. That's what you do. So we did that for quite a few years. Really enjoyed it, but. I never shot one when we made drives. Always seemed to be somebody would shoot one, but I never did. And I distinctly remember one year I was walking out of the woods. We were making a drive, and I was walking out of the woods, and I looked up at the road, and a truck went by. And a guy had a great big buck in the back of it. And I was like, I know that truck. That's my Uncle Lionel. And my Uncle Lionel Fortin was a legend up here for many years. I mean, he'd kill a big 200-pounder every year, just really good. And, of course, I was just starting to get into the game then. And so I got to talk to him. How does he do that? Every year he gets a big buck. How the hell does he do it? And he wouldn't go with us. You know what I mean? We're all there, and his farm was right there, but he wouldn't hunt with us. He had his own way of doing things. So that night we went to visit with him because he had a buck, and, it's celebration time, so we went and stopped in and said hello. And I asked him a lot of questions, like, how do you do it? You every year you get a big one, and he said, well, you just follow track. Basically, he said, him and his son Mike was also a really, good deer hunter. that's how they did. They would just track deer, and I didn't have a clue who Larry Benoit was or anybody else. Is this Uncle Lionel does it, so I'm going to try it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that year, I was 17 years old, and I had a snow day from school. My dad said, "Yeah, you can go hunting." So I took off, and I tracked my first deer and killed him in his bed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was, this is the first deer I ever killed.
Yep.
Shot him right in his bed, 6-pointer, and I was like, okay, I get
Oh
what
my
the
God.
thrill is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And of course, I had missed, some deer, on those drives. I'd never killed one, so.
Were you like, this is easy, first try, and I
Yeah,
got one?
yeah. Of course, I walked in circles for the half a day, just got lost.
Yeah.
This is one of those days it was snowing pretty hard, and I have a habit of running, go right in a circle, and the next thing you know, you're on your own boot tracks.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what the hell? Who's this guy? It's my own tracks. But anyway, so when I got on the deer, of course, I took him for, it was probably 2.5 hours right at the bottom of, it was Mount John. I don't hunt anymore, I guess I can say it. But anyways, I took his track. He made a big swing. He did the classic J hook. Came up over a little knob, and there he was. Just started getting out of his bed, but he froze.
Mhm.
Just a second too long, and I shot him right there. But so yeah, I definitely understood more about. Oh, that's what he was talking about. How he does it.
Mhm.
But a funny thing that happened though was I met my wife about the same time in school, and her family were all big hunters. And they owned a farm, but they were sitters. That's you didn't want to spook deer off the farm, so you
Yep.
sat in your stand, and they all shot nice deer. Usually some nice 200-pounders.
Yep.
So I started to learn that game, and I think for 13 or 14 years I hunted the farm, shot a deer every year. So I was
Yep.
hooked. Wow, it's easier than tracking even. You can
Yep.
you can just sit here and deer comes to you.
Mhm.
But of course, being I was in my 20s by then, and wanted more of a challenge, and after you shoot so many small bucks, you're like, okay, what's the next thing? I want
Yeah.
something with a little bigger.
Yep.
So my uncle Lionel at that time would go to Maine, and the guy that he would hunt with didn't go anymore. He was getting too old, but my uncle Lionel still wanted to go, so he asked me to go with him. I said, well, here's my chance, So
Yep.
sure enough, we went up in a camper and hunted that first year, and I shot a spike horn up there, and but I probed him pretty hard.
Yep.
I just all the questions, and what do you do in this case? What do you do there? And he wasn't the type of guy to really talk about it. But if you asked him a question, he'd answer the question. But he wasn't going to just sit there and just
Yeah.
tell what he stories and stuff. He would just you'd have to pry it out of him, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
But anyways, so we hunted there with him for 2 or 3 seasons, and then he didn't want to do it anymore. He was getting too old. He was pushing 80 back then. So
Yep.
and my brother-in-law, who is a heck of a deer hunter, he was going to Maine too. So we hooked up, and we started going together after that. And we hunted for about 20 years out of a camp up there, and so I was hooked on Maine for sure. And we also go to New Hampshire and
Yep.
hunt in Vermont
Yep.
too in between. But
Yeah. I was going to ask you, I see you hunt, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Would you have is Maine your favorite? It seems like you're killing a good buck up there every year. Yeah.
It's definitely my first choice of places to go.
Yeah.
Of course, having worked, in corrections, you have to figure out what your vacation time is going to be, and
Yeah.
you got to put way ahead of time. So I always try to pick those 2 weeks in Maine. It was back then it started a week, and then it went to 2 weeks. I finally got enough seniority to get 2 weeks off. And,
Yep.
but it's hit and miss. You might get snow,
yeah.
you might not, and it's pretty frustrating to be at work and the snow's flying.
Yeah.
The deer are going to be dropping. Like,
time.
oh God, I want to be up there.
That
so
hurts the
bad,
soul
but
right there.
It does. It really does. But we did pretty well. We'd shoot some on bare ground too, and it's like everybody else. Get lucky.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of fun. And so yeah, we jumped around. Well, I still do. New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont. But Vermont's probably my last choice now, just because
Yeah.
it's just tough. They're so spooky.
Yeah.
You jump a deer in Vermont, no matter where you are in Vermont, it seems like they're going to run a mile before they slow down.
Yep.
And in Maine, I couldn't believe it. You jump a deer, and he would take off, and sometimes within 100 yards, he's walking again. So you just
Yeah.
didn't see that in Vermont. You didn't.
Or sometimes they just a couple bounds and stop and look at you.
Yeah,
Like
so-
that was unheard of,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's-
Like a whole different species back in the day.
yeah,
You know?
they talk about it, deer being in rut and acting stupid. I didn't know what that was because,
Mhm.
Vermont, they didn't ever seem to be in rut because they were never stupid.
Yep, that's right.
Do you have a different approach when you go from like hunting Vermont to Maine as far as how you find bucks and stuff? Do you do a lot of scouting or just kind of go on a whim up to Maine?
I do jump into new areas. If there's no snow on the ground, it's just a scouting expedition.
Yep.
I don't expect anything
Mhm.
to shoot anything. I expect to find a good spot or find a bad spot.
Yep.
So that's my goal. And either way is okay. Because I know I'm not going to hunt that again, or I need to get back in there.
Mhm.
When snow hits. But
That's a good philosophy of not getting burned out. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just we got to find a way
We've
to not
talked
get
about this
burned out
before.
on bare ground. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That's a really good way to go about
Well,
it.
a friend asked me at work. He said, "Don't you ever get sick of it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." I said, "But I
Mhm.
said I would if I hunted the same spot all the time."
Yep.
I said, "But I don't." I said,
Yep.
"I hunt a different spot every day. It might even be the different side of the mountain, where I was yesterday, but it's not going to be in the same. I'm not going to go in the same way. Even if I saw a good deer sign, I'm not going to hunt it again until the snow hits.
That's snow.
I'd rather find some more spots. To me, that's a successful day. Is if I find a good spot to hunt.
Yep.
I feel good about it rather than, or a bad spot. Like I've always wanted to try it, but there wasn't shit in there, so
Mhm.
I didn't go back. You
Yep.
know, but
Yeah.
um,
So just kind of setting yourself up for this when the snow comes is kind of how you approach
Exactly.
it. Yeah, can't
Yep.
blame you there. It's a good plan to do.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
you're gonna get burned out that way. But like you said, if you got a week or two that you've taken off, I can see how it's hard for guys
Yeah.
like that. But it happens.
Well, fortunately now I retired 2 years ago. It's my second season, and I've got I've got time now. I can hunt as much as I want, which it's kind of hard to get used to. Like I said, talked to you earlier. I shot that deer on
Yeah.
the first day, but it's like I kind of regret it. It's like I got all season. Why'd I have to hurt? But that's the way I've
Yep.
always been: is shoot one in this state and go to the next one and go to the next one.
You're a Vermonter, man. When you get an opportunity, sometimes you only get one a year.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's hard
true.
to not pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a couple of young guys that Josh and my daughter's boyfriend Cody. They're both becoming really good trackers, and they ask me questions on how many deer do you track before you kill one as well. It changes. You might track 5 in a row and never get a shot, and then the following year you might track 2 and kill them both. You just don't know how it's going to happen. But I would say on average that every year get a chance at a good one.
Yep.
Every
I
year I
agree.
at least see one. There's very few years that I've hunted that I didn't at least see a racker that put some lead towards them anyways.
Yep.
Scared the hell out of them most
Yeah.
of the time. But
Putting the miles on the boots, and you're gonna give yourself an
Yeah.
opportunity
Yep.
no matter what you do.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
agree with that. Quick question for you before we'll dive into some stories next and talk Maine, New Hampshire, and all that stuff. So you have the YouTube channel, and you've got some good videos on there. How did you kind of get started with that as far as wanting to record your hunts and putting it out there and all that stuff?
Well, it's going to sound kind of silly, but my daughters, I have 4 daughters, and they don't have any grandkids. I want grandkids. And I thought, well, if I can't bring them hunting because, I'm getting up there in age, by the time they have them, they're actually old enough to hunt, I probably am not going to be able to really interact with them much as far as hunting. So I thought, well, if I made some videos, they can at least know what I used to do. And I thought, yeah, it'll be fun.
That's awesome.
I'm going to try. I'm just going to try it and see how I like it. And a lot of times woods can be boring.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the same thing every day, and if you're not, especially if you're not into the deer,
Yep.
you start daydreaming a lot. And I said, I gotta get something to keep me focused and start looking at things differently. And I said, well, if I had a camera, start filming some
Yep.
of these moose and deer and just buck rubs, interesting things that I see, and I really wasn't going to post it.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife is the one who talked me into it. Said,
Yep.
you should put that out there. People would probably enjoy that. I said, do you think so?
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, put it out. So I said, all right.
Yeah. And
But,
kind of as we were talking before, there's not enough tracking content out there, is like what we were talking
Yeah.
about. So
yeah.
Yeah.
the fact you put that out there, that's awesome. I mean, you built up a good little subscriber count, and you got some popular videos and stuff. Your 2018 video, I think, was one of your biggest ones, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was 130,000 views or something.
That's
like that.
awesome.
That's the way I
Crazy.
look.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, you get a picture of a big buck in the back of a truck, or there was 2 of them, I think, in that picture. But it gets people's attention.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely that was a good year for sure.
Yep.
For those of that don't know, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's just Gerald Fortin. That's,
And also for the listeners that haven't seen the videos yet. Can you just go into your gear a little bit as far as what you use for a gun and what scope or no scope?
Sure.
Or,
Yep, I run a 7600 pump.
Oh, no kidding. No.
There's a surprise.
Same here.
I did run a 742 Woodmaster for gosh, 25 years.
Yep.
Killed a lot of deer with it. And I always called it my magic gun because I just had to point the thing and the deer would drop.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it just loved that gun, but it started jamming just like a lot of them do.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't
Yep.
trust it anymore. And
Yep.
got a pretty good story about that.
Cost you deer?
No, almost.
Almost.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was hunting in New Hampshire with my brother-in-law. He had killed a nice 200-pounder in Maine. It was Saturday. We were there for the weekend because we'd already used up our vacation time. So we went up for a weekend hunt. Anyways, he kills his deer first day, and I get back to the camp and he left me a note. He had killed his deer and he had a transmission problem in his truck. He had to go back and get it fixed. So I didn't even get a chance to see the deer. So I said, well, I'm gonna head to New Hampshire tomorrow. It's not that far, and I said I'll hunt the day out and then I'll head home. So I did. I went up, got into New Hampshire in the morning, got out of the truck, went about 50 yards in the woods, and there's a fresh track going up towards the top of the mountain where I wanted to go. So I took his track and I'm just sizing him up. That first half hour of what is he doing? What's on his mind?
Yep.
So I'm going pretty slow and I'm looking. There he is. He takes off running down this old tote road. But I did not see a rack. I was like, man, it was a big freaking deer, but I did not see a rack. But I didn't see him great. So I'm pretty sure he's got horns. It just must have been the angle or something.
Yep.
So I kept on him, went over a mountain, down a hollow, up the next mountain, and it was a really thick area. Old Christmas tree thing that had been cut and then was regrowing.
Yep. And
he got in the middle of that. I jumped him twice before that. He just got out of his bed, run, and never saw him. He finally got into that stuff, and he got probably the only place I could have killed him. He was right in an opening, and I was on the edge of it, and I just peeked out into the opening because I could see light, because it was lighted, and I saw him standing there, and he saw me at the same time. By the time I got my gun on him, he just one bound, and I shot just as his front legs hit the ground. So I shot like right underneath his belly, kind of, right in.
Yep.
So I said, well, I don't know if I got him or not, but I said I got to go check. So I walk up there. Sure enough, there's blood. He takes about 3 bounds and he's walking. I said, oh, he's hit pretty hard because he wouldn't be walking already.
Yep.
So I checked everything, make sure my gun was okay, and got on his track, and I went about 50 yards, and there he is, running broadside. And I went to shoot him, and nothing. Squeezing the trigger, nothing. The deer's broadside and moving slow. I can't shoot. So I look at my gun, and the shell is jammed in it. So I was like, oh, crap. So I took out my knife. By then the deer's out of sight, and I got an old-timer buck knife my dad gave me, and I stuck the end of it, and I'm prying, and then pop, broke the knife.
Oh, shit.
So I was like, oh, crap. So I sat there for a minute. It's like, well, my truck's over there 2 miles away, and the muzzleloader's in it. From muzzleloading in Maine. Do I go back and get that and come back? It's going to be pretty close to dark by the time I get back here, but he might be dead by then. Or
Yep.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna give it one more try. So I got my knife out again. It was already broke. I said, well, I'll just jam it in there. It's already broke, and I did. It popped out. I said, oh, got it. Slammed another shell in there. I went, I'll go 50 yards, and there he was. He was laying in his bed. He was
hurting.
Yeah. That was a 9-pointer 190. Nice little rack, not a very wide rack, but beefy, for a small rack. But, so that was a fun hunt. So my brother-in-law got one, and I got one same weekend.
So at least it never didn't cost you a buck then, the 742.
No, it didn't. But after that, I didn't trust the gun.
Yep.
I brought it to a couple different smiths, and I shot it, and it would jam. It's like I never did it before, and all
just
of a sudden
started wearing out.
Yeah, I guess. And I was so disappointed because I love that gun. I really loved it. And
was it a carbine?
Yep.
Yep. That's
And,
what my Uncle Wayne uses to this day.
Yeah.
His hasn't started jamming yet, but I mean, I've heard so many stories of
It happens.
they just have a number of shots and then they just start letting you down a little bit after a while. But
The 7600 hasn't been letting you down, though. I see you've been smacking them with that pretty good, haven't you?
It's been good to me, but I'll tell you, the first few years I carried it, I thought it was jinxed because 5 years in a row, I missed a big buck. 5
that?
years with
Oh,
that
wow.
gun. You know,
Wow.
and I'm like, what in hell is going on? I was shooting some smaller bucks.
Yep.
That seemed to be no problem. But when I get to the big ones, I'd miss them. I'm like, what is going on? Well, then I got thinking about it. It's like my trigger pull was quite a bit more than my 742. So
Yep.
I had that checked, and sure enough, he said, yeah, it's pretty tight. You want to bring it down. I said, well, get it as light as you can.
Yep.
And after that, it was fine. As I've been
Lights out since then.
Yeah. So I should have shot
Just
saw
yanking
that
on
sooner,
it a little
but-
bit and just pulling.
Yeah, I think when you think about it, when your deer's going, you're not squeezing the trigger, you're pulling the
Oh, yeah.
trigger,
Yeah.
right? And where's it going to be when you pull? You're always pulling off target, and if you pull too hard,
Yep.
you're pulling it over the target or in front of the deer, if you will.
That's where some people mess up. They just practice on a bench and they squeeze the trigger. And like, I know for myself, like when I go out, I'll just walk along and I'll have my son yell like just to catch me off guard. We'll have targets set up in the woods, and that's the best practice because you want to be doing the same thing you're going to do on game day,
Yeah.
And that's snapping the trigger. And I didn't realize how
Absolutely.
bad I did it until we started video, and it's like my finger weren't even on the trigger.
Yeah.
Just kind of like pulling, but
Yeah.
that's a good point.
It's a good thing with a video too. You catch your mistakes and stuff you make after the fact,
Oh,
as
yeah.
far as with
Yep.
deer and gun and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to, so we're talking about your video, your 2018 video. Let's dive right into that 2018 season because
Yeah.
you had a magical season in 2018.
Oh,
Yeah. Sure.
Let's start at the beginning of that season, kind of talk about your success and your stories with those bucks.
All right. 2018 course rolled around. It was the first Friday of season, and a buddy of mine that I hunt with now, he always goes up on a Friday. Work schedules, you can't have during the week. So he said, we have that following week. That would be the second week of season off. We had planned to camp, but the owners would let us come in that Friday if we wanted to. So we've been doing that for a few years. So he said he's going to be up there. So okay, I'm going to go up, and we did get snow. So I get up. I left Vermont probably 3:30 in the morning, whatever it was, and I honestly thought we lost all the snow because the way that I went, I ended up going up by the White Mountains, and there was nothing up there. It was bare, and I'm like, oh shit, if they lost it up there, then there's nothing where I'm going. Well, I get up to where I'm going, and there was snow. There was like 9 inches. It's like, oh shit! Because I was taking my time. I went to camp, brought my gear, thinking, oh, there's no snow anyways. Finally, I get up to where I was going to go, and there's nice snow.
Yep.
I'm like, oh. So, anyways, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was probably an hour or so after daylight, but I get in the woods. I make a swing. I'm slabbing kind of lower elevations, kind of working my way up the mountain on the edge of this big cut. But I'm kind of in the cut, and it's pretty old, so there's some good vegetation mix, but not a lot of visibility. And kept seeing this big track, but it's always old. And I had like a 180 pounder fresh. It was right there, but I was like, it's deers, I hate those 880 pounders because I know if I take one and he pops up in front of me, I see rack, I'm gonna shoot.
Yeah.
And so I was like, don't take it. Because I know myself. So, anyway, so I followed him for a little ways, and I didn't see him, but I jumped him. I heard him blow and took off. So I said, it wasn't the big one anyway. So I'm gonna send it to the top of the mountain. So I did. I get up high. Didn't see his track down there. Started slabbing low, and there's like a feed zone like in the middle of this bowl, and I'd seen quite a bit of deer sign years past there. I said, I wonder if he might be down in there. So sure enough, his track was coming out of there, and I was like, there was 2 tracks, and it was his old track and the new track from the day before.
Yep.
And I'm looking at it going, boy, he's following the same route. He's probably going to go bed right here. So I took his track, and I don't know, I didn't go very far, maybe half a mile, and there was a great big blowdown. I remember he went past the blowdown. I'm following both tracks, and all of a sudden it's just the old track. I'm like, what did he do? So I looked to the left, went back to the blowdown, and sure enough, right after the blowdown, took a sharp left and right up the knob. So I'm like, it's really thick. I was like, he's right here.
Yep.
I mean, he is right there. The wind's in my favor.
Yep.
I said, just 2-step it, get to the top. He's going to be from here to the top, guaranteed. Sure enough, I get all the way to the top, and my gun's up, and I was like, he's got to be here. And I look to the right, and I catch him just getting out of his bed, and I shit you not, I'm 20 feet from him.
Yep.
He waited, almost stepped on him. He blows out in front of me into the only clearing in front of me, right? I mean, it's thick on both sides. He runs right in the middle of it. Easy shot. I'm picking up my gun, right? And I I can't remember putting the safety off, but I did. And as I'm picking up, boom, the gun goes off, and I wasn't quite on him.
Yep.
I shot right underneath him. So I jammed another one, shot just as he went in the brush. It's like, oh, you idiot.
Is that because of adjusting that trigger pull, you think?
It probably was, but, I honestly don't remember taking the safety off.
Okay.
But in the heat of the moment, I don't. I wouldn't have taken the safety off unless I saw hair.
Oh,
I wouldn't have.
Yep.
So I think I bumped it. That's the only thing I
Okay.
could think of is, I bumped it and I'm sure we've all done it. You're walking around in the course of a day and you check your safety. Oh, shit, that was off.
Yep.
We've all done it. And
It happens.
If you
Yep.
say you haven't, you're a liar.
Yep.
I'm
You're
telling
right.
you,
You're
if you
right.
hunt long enough, it's going to happen to you. So anyways, that's why I, constantly check my gun now every few minutes,
Yep.
once an hour or so, whatever it is. But anyways, get back to the story. So the deer disappears, and I thought, well, I might have hit him with that second shot because I had a really good shot. If he stayed on course, I should have hit him.
Yep.
I didn't. He banged a sharp right. As soon as he got in woods, banged a right. Right. I just didn't see it, and I figured he was. So he's going down the mountain now, same mountain I just walked up. He's running the whole way. Gets to the bottom, and he starts walking. And I think there's a clip of the video where I said I started getting leg cramps, and I did. I could not budge. I mean, like, what? It's just so frustrating. I know his deer's right here, and I can't. I mean, it was bad. So anyways, I get him really, really bad when I get him. So.
Yep.
But I went from 0 to 100. Hadn't done any exercising, and next thing you know, you're tracking deer all day.
Been
I
there.
learned my lesson. But yeah, so I I cramped up, and so I saw I got to give him a half an hour anyways, because
Yep.
I was, I just want to make sure I didn't hit him. And I gave him that half hour, and I started poking along, and he was right there. He hadn't gone far. Maybe I bet that deer was within a quarter of a mile where I shot at him.
Yep.
And he was bedded down. He had done the classic J above me, and I never saw him. He was looking down on me, and it's like I should have killed him right there, but I never saw him.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's after 4. He's running now. He saw me good, and my legs cramped up. I was like, I am not catching this deer today. And so I tucked my tail between my legs and walked out. And got another, the other leg cramped up before. I'm looking at the truck. I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm looking down at it, and my legs cramped up, and I can't move. I'm like, and it's dark. I'm like, holy shit.
2 legs down.
Yeah. I was like, oh man.
Oh.
So anyways, so I didn't go back in. No, I did. I went back in the next day because we still had snow. Could not get him going, but by noon the snow was gone.
Yep.
So I started scouting, looking at other areas, and I see another deer broadside, and I know it was a buck, but I just couldn't put horns on him, and then he took off running in thick brush, but it was a big body and I had a big track.
Yep.
But just not enough proof to pull the trigger.
Yep.
So that was fun. So that was the only other deer I saw all week, and then of course our time at camp was done. All the boys went back home to Vermont to hunt the Vermont season, and they had forecast for snow for that Saturday, the next day. Friday I said, well, I'm staying. I said, I'm going to book a motel and I'm going to stay.
Yep.
I said it's good snow, and I know he's up there somewhere. So I went back after him. Got in the woods. I went in from a different way. Cut a nice 180-pound track right off. It's not him, but I know this deer's right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I get up over this little knoll. There he is standing there broadside. And I'm like, holy shit, do I end my season right here? I said, that is not the deer that I want. I said, you know what? I'm not going to shoot him. So I took a left, kept slabbing left, saw a couple more does. They were all over the place that morning.
Yep.
Finally cut his track with a doe. And I wasn't maybe, I was less than a quarter of a mile from where I'd seen that smaller buck. And I said, these deer are right here to my right. The wind's in my favor. It's really thick where they're going, but I know it's kind of open to my left. So their track was going to the right, and so I'm just going to loop around. I'm going to take a look in that bowl from the high side,
Yep.
see if I can spot him, and then I'll get back on his track. I didn't go 30 feet, and I looked to my right, and a deer takes off running in front of me. And by the time I focused on it, it was in some beaches, and all I could see was its feet. And it's, getting antsy, it's moving, and I can't tell what it is. And then, of course, it finally dawns on me, well, was there anything else with it? And I looked to the right, and there he is. He's just standing there looking at me. Runs out in front of me. Boom, boom. I emptied my gun on him. Didn't know if I hit him.
Yep.
So then now I'm thinking, okay, I've missed this deer twice this week. And so I just waited for a few minutes. I said, well, see what he does. I reloaded. just got on my hands and knees because you could see better, and I'm looking underneath all the brush, and I could see his legs.
Ooh.
And I'm like, he's about 75 yards out, and I could see his legs, and then he moved a little bit, and I could see the frame, and then I could see rack, and he's just standing there looking at me. Boom, shot again. He's just standing there. I'm like, what the frick? Let's get a bulletproof vest on or what? Boom, I shot again. He hunched.
Yep.
Then he took off.
Hit him that time.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I hit him there. So then, of course, reloaded again, and I started looking at his running track in front of me, and I could see blood.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I hit him that first shot. So I went up there. Sure enough, I took his track. Whoop, hit him again because the second shot, there was a lot more blood. Could see where I hit him. And then his track did a sharp right, and I look up, and I could see pretty far, and his track just disappeared. We get to as far as I could look, and I couldn't see him anymore. I looked to the right, and he's laying right there.
Yep.
And I said, oh, shit, he's right here. No wonder I couldn't see him way up there.
That's
I was looking for
awesome.
blood, way up ahead.
Yep.
I overshot it, but I was looking at it. But, yeah, so.
What was the stats on that buck? That was
215, weighed 215, and that one, I never had that one scored.
Yep.
Worst part about that was everybody had to head home. You're up there alone,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
How was getting that thing out?
That was a job.
Yeah.
That was that's where the episode of The Good Wife came in.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
I didn't want to bother the boys. They're all pissed at me because I didn't call them. But
Yep.
it's like, guys, you're hunting.
Yeah,
You're hunting.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to call you on a great day.
Mm.
You went all the way back to Vermont. I said, no, I'm not going to do that to
Yep.
you. So I of course my kids, they're all busy, and they're like, no, we can't come up.
Yep.
So I asked my wife, I said, hey, you would you dare to come up and do some little dragging? She goes, yeah, I'll come up. You gonna come get me? I said, all right.
Yeah.
So I dragged the deer till I shot him at 9:30 in the morning. I dragged him till 11, and it kept getting into more and more of a shithole. And I was going down, and the banks on both sides. No matter which way I went, now I got to go up. And I'm like, oh crap. So I left it there, and that's when I decided, I get some cell coverage, and called my wife, and she said, yeah, I'll go up with you. So, and she had the best time. We went up that night. We dragged him till 9:30. We got back at 5. We dragged him till 9:30 that night.
Wow.
In a snowstorm. We had 2 lights. One of them died. And then we had just this tiny little light, which I had, and I'm like, Chris, we got to get out of here. I said, if this one goes bad, I don't know if I can find the trail. It's so dark.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So I said, let's just walk out of here. We'll hit it in the morning. So I took my sweaty shirt off and left it by the deer, right on top of the deer, and crossed my fingers. We found a little B&B for the night and had a blast that night because we knew we had one.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
we did. And went back the next day. It was a Sunday. We went in and got in there. As we're walking in, there was bobcat tracks in there. There was coyote tracks all around it.
Yep.
But they didn't come to within 20 feet of it. No closer than 20 feet, but they could smell them.
So they're just
yeah.
circling.
They circled it, both the bobcat and the coyotes.
Really?
They were all over it, but they would not touch it.
So the sweaty shirt does the
had
trick.
to have been that
Yeah.
because when I saw the tracks going in, I'm like, oh God, I'm not nothing left.
Yep.
And they did the trick because they didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Leg cramps that night.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
We my Uncle Randy has a great tip for those leg cramps.
What's that?
You ever get him at night after you hunt?
Oh yeah.
So he sleeps backwards in the bed. So that way, he said, if his legs cramp up at night, he can push his feet against the headboard, and it takes a little relief off him. But I was hunting with him in South Carolina, and he was sleeping backwards. I said, what the hell are you doing? He goes, oh, leg cramps. He goes, that cures them quick, if you have something to push against.
No kidding.
Never heard that. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a great buck, though. 215.
That's a great wife.
Yep.
That's a good wife. Yeah, dragging a 200-pounder out ain't easy either.
Yeah. She's a farm girl.
Yeah,
Grew up with
awesome.
hunting and loves it. She's killed deer herself, and if I hadn't asked, she'd have been pissed at me,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So she holds down the fort good during deer season.
Oh
lets
yeah,
you
she's
go and
very
do your thing.
understanding.
Yep.
Of course I'm retired now, but for many years, family's priority.
Yeah.
Take 1 week off and go hunt, and now she says, you've got time now. You go hunt all you want. And
That's awesome.
she's very understanding and supportive. And
Got to get that venison egg roll recipe.
yeah,
Off you.
no, they are awesome. They really are.
Have to try that.
She could sell them.
Yeah. Oh man, so 2018. So you got that buck, and then you rolled into New Hampshire.
Yep.
With your
Yep.
buddy, Josh is your buddy. You
Josh,
said?
yep.
Yep.
Josh is the son of a really good friend that I have from Department of Corrections.
Yep.
The guy who got me into corrections, Doug. He was a super nice guy and loves to deer hunt. but his method of hunting is sitting in a stand.
Mhm.
That's what he likes to do, and they're good at it because he kills a lot of deer that way.
Yep.
And he has a son named Josh. He's got 3 boys, and Josh took a real interest in tracking because I'd stop by, and usually they live Charleston, Island Pond areas where they live. So when I'd come back through, I would stop, show them some deer, and and since the boys were little, I'd stop by and they got to know me that way. Hey Jerry, they knew me anyways, but they'd say, oh yeah, you got another big one, and Josh is starting to put the numbers together and say, I think I want to learn how to do that. He said, would you be willing to show me? I said, sure, anytime.
Yep.
So I said, just give me a call when you're ready, and he did. And I think that was the first time we hunted together. And so we were in New Hampshire. He's a fireman and pretty tight schedule, so he's can get some time off, but he has to finagle a little bit. So he managed to get a couple days off when the snow was there, which was pretty critical.
Yep.
And we had hunted the day before. I put him in a spot that I knew was holding some deer, and he got into there, and he got onto a pretty good one, but he never saw it, and it was pretty crunchy conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got fresh 6 inches of snow that night, and I said, well, do you want to double team? I said, that's probably the best way to really explain what what I'm telling you, because I can tell you 10 stories, but until you see it, it's really not going to register as well. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we hiked up the was a ski trail, got up to the top of it, and I found some dimples in the snow, heading from right to left. And I said, yeah, this is a pretty good one. I don't know if he's 200, but he's got a pretty good stride. I said, and I was pretty sure it was a buck. And Josh laughs because he said, when he saw the dimples in the snow, he said, you're full of shit. It's like, how the hell can you tell? And I'm like, we talked about it after.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look at the stagger on him. And that's no doe. It's no small buck. I said, it's a big deer and it's pretty deep snow now. I said, he's got to be pretty big to be laying a stride like that. I said, that's no small deer. And I said, it might not be a 200-pounder, but I said, he's pretty respectable.
Yep.
And I said, until we get him going fresh, let's go and see what he does. So we took that track he went into a little bit of a swamp, and it wasn't, I always say it was 15 minutes. Josh is more like 2, but we get in there, and I was bleating because I figured with all the snow, and he was coming into some softwood. I said, I think he's going to be bedded right here. I knew the area pretty good, and I said, I got a feeling he's going to be on this ridge. So I'm going 2-stepping it, and I'm bleating, with my mouth just, and I look behind me, and Josh is, like right tight to me, so you can see the action. And I look to the left, and I just catch him getting out of his bed. And just catch a little movement, and I see rack. And I can see his throat patch looking at me. Now all I can see is rack and his throat patch. And I shoot that 7600 with over and under sights. I have see-through mounts with a peep on the bottom.
Yep.
And I don't even take the scope covers off when it's snowy like that. I just run the peep, and I've trained myself just to shoot the peep first and then go to the scope if I have time.
Yep.
And I did that. So I went right to the peep, put it on him, boom, and he dropped right there.
Jeez.
So yeah.
Can't beat that was a beauty buck too.
Yeah, that was he had a nice rack, and like I was saying before, I think that deer was older. I would have liked to have aged him because
that's the one you had Euro mounted in the
straight
house.
above
There?
your office.
Yeah.
Yep.
He had like a gnarly rack, and he had like a big chest, but a tiny little.
He must have been an
butt.
older deer because you don't get those like stickers and that characteristic and
Yeah.
stuff typically out of those
You
younger
had
deer.
it scored? Or aged, I mean?
No, I didn't.
No?
And
Okay.
I always kind of regretted it because I thought,
Oh,
geez.
jeez.
I always had it in my mind it was probably 3.5. The more I look at it, it's like I bet he was, 4.5 or 5.
Yeah.
And he just was never going to be that big.
Yep.
He weighed 178, and that was, kind of late season, not real late, but so I don't think he was ever going to be that big. I think he
Was it just a shorter deer, you think?
He was
or-
short,
yeah,
and he had
short
no
and stubby?
ass, no ass
okay,
at all.
run right
very
out.
small. I'm looking at him, going, a big chest, got a nice big rack and neck, no ass.
Yeah.
So,
Still a great buck though,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And especially for Josh to put it together at that point and see, oh, you can take an old track, and because it was an old track. Most hunters probably would walk by it and say, I got to get something fresher, but knowing exactly what the snow did the night before, it's like it could be
That's the thing.
it could be smoking hot. You wouldn't know because it's coming down hard. So he learned a lot on that episode. So we shot him, gutted him out, and I said, this is the bigger deer in here. This is not the big one, because we had seen some really big sign.
Yep.
So we made a big loop. We did about a mile loop, and I was heading towards the deer again, and Josh said, he said, Jerry, I got this. He said, why don't you take off, go take care of your deer, get it reported, do all that stuff. And he said, I'm going to go. I said, all right. So he said, afterwards I found out, he said, I didn't even leave you. I turned around and looked at you, and had my back to him walking away, and he was looking at the deer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said he was right there. He said he was just over the bank from where I'd left him. And he said, but he couldn't tell what it was. He said he could see 3 deer, I guess, and he said one was a big one. It was a really good track, a lot bigger than the one I'd killed.
Yep.
And but he couldn't put horns on it. So he took the track. They spooked, took it, went down the mountain, caught him again, same situation. Caught him bedded, and it was finding rubs. He was finding trees rubs.
Fresh rubs right on the track.
Yeah, as he's tracking, he's finding, he knows his
Just
buck.
can't paint the horns on it.
Yeah, and he's there again. He said, that freaking buck is laying there, and I can see everything but his head. And he said that, I don't know if the wind swirled or what, but the buck took off, never put horns on him.
Yep.
And it's like, he tracked that deer till dark and never caught him.
Mm-hmm.
Twice he could have killed him, but just could not see a flash of horns.
Yeah.
And he weren't picky. He said, if it's got any horn, I'm shooting.
Yep.
And so it wasn't like he was looking for a big rack or anything, although.
Did he have a scope on his gun? Or?
He did.
He did. Yep.
Yep.
Just, it's hard sometimes. Holy cow.
So that was his beginning of him tracking, was going with you there for the most part?
Yeah. I think, yeah. Well, we had been together that week, a couple days maybe before that, if I remember right.
Yep.
And we would hunt, it's kind of the same area. And, I think we had hunted, but not together, like double team. In the same area, you go left, I'll go right.
Yeah.
We'll meet at dark, that type of thing. But he he asked all of the questions at night. That's where you learn a lot of stuff around a campfire.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You just, and that's how I learned. I mean, like I said, I learned from my uncle, and then when I really got interested in it, the Benoit videos were just coming out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, these guys are awesome. They're doing what I'm doing, only they're doing it better. So you get really interested in that, and I get to meet those guys at the shows, and and that was the first show that I ever went to was the year they came out with the Beagle Wear.
Yep.
And those guys were wearing it, and they're saying, Jerry, we don't promote anything, but I'll tell you right now, this stuff is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna love it if you buy it. He said. So my brother-in-law actually bought a set. He bought, the jacket and the pants, and I didn't buy them. Wasn't sold on it yet, and he ran them that next season. We hunted together, and he, we weren't together, but he went his direction. I went mine. He kills a deer that day. I kill a deer that day. His was 272, 11 point.
272?
Biggest deer I've ever
Holy
seen in my
cow.
life. Just an absolute monster.
That's 3 of my deer.
When you walk up to the thing and the chest is this high off the ground,
Wow.
it was like I'd never seen anything like
Just
it.
built different.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
and everybody's guessing like, what do you think it'll weigh?
Yep.
Jim, he was thinking 250, and I'm like,
Yep.
geez, he's all that and then some. I was like, I've
Unbelievable.
never seen a deer like this,
Yep.
And I had killed one, maybe around 3:30 that afternoon.
Yep.
And I know he was 200.
Yep.
It ended up weighing 205, and I was like, this deer is nothing compared to this one. It's like, oh my God, what
Nothing
a monster.
like stealing your thunder, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, he stole it hard that time. He's done it more than once, too.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he killed that deer, and oh boy, didn't we do some celebrating that night. We had 2 nice bucks in the back of the truck.
Two 200-pounders in the family.
Yeah, we went to town the next day. We got back at camp. Well, I got back with mine. I got back. I left him in the woods because I couldn't get him out. I knew I had help anyway. So I went back to camp. It got dark, and I waited for a guy from Vermont. One of our buddies was coming up. He gets there, and my brother-in-law's not out of the woods yet. And I'm like, it's like 6 o'clock. It's been dark for 2 hours. Like, well, either he's broke down or he's got one down.
Yep.
And I did hear some shooting in his direction. I said, I bet he got something, So we had supper. I changed all my clothes because I was soaked. It was one of those drizzly days, the soaking, not pouring, but it was wet, and just one of those nasty, great tracking days where it ages the track. In 1 minute you can tell what the deer's doing because it's aged so fast. But anyways, so at 9 o'clock we find him. We get my deer out, right, because it was closer. We find him, say, hey, he says, yeah, I got a good one. And I said, I think I got you beat. He says, I don't think so. I was like, oh man. I knew my deer was pretty nice. I said, he must have got a corker. And so we head down in this freaking shithole, got down in there and found that deer. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was just a monster, but boy, didn't we do some celebrating.
Incredible.
Yeah. So the next day, I think I started to tell you, we were heading out to the weigh station, right? So, we tagged out and the boys wanted to go. So there's, I think, 4 of us in the truck. We go out, 2 nice bucks in the truck. We get to the gate. It was a gated road, and there's an attendant there, and he says, hey, pull over. I want to see your deer. So we did. And next thing you know, it's like a crowd. There's people stopping, and this old guy gets out, and he's looking at the deer, and he's like, yeah, it's a nice deer. And he says, not as big as mine, though. I said, not as big as yours.
The 272 wasn't?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
okay.
What? And he goes, yeah. He says, I shot one up there. He said, I can't remember what year it was, 318. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, wow. 318.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. And then come find out, that guy was the guy who actually built the camps that we were staying in.
Oh, wow.
He had made most of the roads where we were staying. And he said, yeah, it was nothing back then. He said, you would drive around. He said, you didn't get out of the truck unless the track was like 250. He said, you didn't even think about it. It had to be 250 to be interested. He said, these 200-pounders, you'd see them on the side of the road, literally, just standing there, and you wouldn't shoot them because you knew you had a chance at something better. He said it was unbelievable.
Wow.
Like, I was in the the heyday, 50s and 60s.
Like, what changed that? Is it just the cutting? Is that what changed it? Or the pressure? Coyotes?
Coyotes, yeah. My uncle Lionel, who I was telling you about, where he did the best was in the the 50s and 60s.
Yep.
He was killing deer right and left. And he said when the coyotes moved in, he said you'd track a deer and you'd bed right in the hardwood. You'd be bedded down, not a stitch of cover. He would be bedded there and you'd kill him, no problem.
Just no worry in the world.
Yeah. And he said that they hide. They're all super wary. They hear a noise, they run forever.
Yep.
He said but it's the coyote. The dynamic has changed with the coyote. They just so much pressure because of them. They're constantly on aware of what's going on around them.
Yep.
To survive, they have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
I
dogs
just
just weren't.
noticed-
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just from the early 2000s, from being in Maine in the early 2000s to now, they've changed their behavior quite a bit, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
Oh, absolutely.
they just keep getting smarter and smarter every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, it's funny how it's changed so much because when we go to camp, 25 years ago, we're always, we'd scout in the summer. Back then we could run 4-wheelers. When we
Yep.
go up, when we just had a blast, looking at new areas, and we'd always be looking where's the paper company cutting because that's where the deer are going to be.
Yep.
And you could usually find one outfit somewhere that was cutting. You might have to look a little bit.
Yep.
But it was a big area, and you had to hunt for it. We'd find them and say, okay, there's some nice cuts here. There should be some good deer action this fall. And fast forward 25 years, everything's cut. There's 6 paper company trucks, outfits going like crazy, and it's cutting everywhere. And
By the way, they don't want you anywhere near where they're cutting. Anyway,
Oh, no.
they block the roads off now. A lot of
Yeah.
signs
Yeah.
that say don't.
and I don't blame them.
I
I
know,
don't want
me neither.
Safety and stuff. Yeah.
No.
And there's plenty of other areas
Oh,
to
yeah,
hunt. They'll be
for
out of
sure.
there the following season. So.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
for sure.
you used to take a deer and I did not expect to catch him in a cut because the deer just
Yeah.
didn't really want to stop there.
Yep.
They would always make it to the virgin forest, and that if he was going to bed, that he'd be in there somewhere. And now they could be anywhere. They could be right in those cuts, and you're killing. A lot of guys kill them in the cuts, myself included.
Yep.
Where I'd never would have 25 years ago. They just wouldn't have been there.
Mhm.
Now that's all they have. And that generation of deer now that's what they're raised with. That's all they know.
Yep.
They don't know anything else. Up there, national forest is different, of course, where there's
Yeah.
a lot of virgin timber, but
Yeah.
Yep.
but not where I've been hunting.
Yeah.
You still do any hunting up northeast here at all? Or?
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
is there
we do.
still monsters up here? I mean, back in the day. This is
There
where
is.
you went in Vermont to
Yep.
get a big one.
Yep, there is, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of it where I hunt. New Hampshire's not far.
Yep.
And guys are jumping aboard. A lot of good hunters in New Hampshire are coming over. They're tagging out over there, coming here.
Coming over here.
And we're doing the same thing over there. But
Yep.
yeah, so it's getting a lot of pressure. But the woods are big. You hunt it during a weekday. Sometimes you get lucky and
Oh, yeah.
nobody around. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you on that. So, I mean, in your years of hunting, you've been hunting Maine for a while now. So would you say now is a lot harder than it was back when you were killing them back in the day? Or
I do. I
a lot
think
harder.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with like guys like you, taking these deer in the conditions that you have, because I think it's harder to kill a deer now. I think they're smarter. They seem to run further now. Even in Maine, you're jumping deer and they're going forever, seems like.
Yeah.
Where they didn't 25 years ago it's like, I didn't know what a deer and rut, what they meant by deer and rut, because it would only run a little ways and then, start walking again. But now they're getting more spooky. even the ones in rut, they're just taking off, and you're having all you can do to catch them.
Yep.
Not all of them, but a lot of them are like that. But
Yep.
and so I'm really impressed with these guys. They're killing these deer in these conditions and consistently. And everybody gets lucky like me. Once in a while you kill a nice one, but these guys are killing them consistently. It's like, wow, they're doing something right.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot more people getting into it too, and a lot of pressure and stuff. So I feel there, which is a good thing. More people out there enjoying the woods.
Absolutely. It's the next generation, and who's going to be taking care of these big tracts of land if nobody's hunting?
Exactly.
Right. You got to have people aware that and care about it, so that so that it is open hunting. Because what's going to happen if nobody uses it?
Yeah.
And who's going to use big tracts of land? Most deer hunters aren't going to want to stand hunt in big tracts of land.
Yep.
Because it's so hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the trackers are the guys that are really utilizing that land, more fully.
It's true.
So and to me, it's that now we have to get the younger generation involved to keep an eye on what's going on. Because you've seen it, the cutting that goes on up there. It's just devastating in some places, and it's too bad. I understand the reason for it, but it just seems like they're overdoing it in some areas. I'm no biologist, but it certainly seems like they're hitting it hard.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like to see now, though, in the last few years, you see more talk about, buying back deer yards from the paper companies and preserving those pieces, which is good. At least people are aware of it, and there's more restrictions as far as cutting goes. But, yeah, there's a lot of cutting going on up there. No doubt about that.
Yeah, it's like anything. It's like even bass fishing. You used to be able to just drown a worm, and now it's like every year there's a new technique, and the bass are getting smarter, and it's like the same with deer hunting. Having to tweak our tactics and change things around, and it's like a evolving thing.
It is, and tracking is. It's been around for a long time, but a lot of people are just finding out about it, and when things are new, they're exciting. It's something to do, and where you're not just sitting there.
For every guy that tries it, probably 9 of them say, "Oh, this is hard."
Yeah, I was watching a video the other day, and this guy was talking about how much he loved tracking. He had done it, had gone in and killed a deer.
Yep.
Within, I think, a mile. The first buck he ever tracked. Killed. Well, this is great. This is easy. I love tracking. It's like, you really haven't done it yet.
No. Exactly.
Track 5 in a row all day and not get them, and then tell me how much you love it. It's work. It really is. You've got to have a passion for it, and it's not easy.
Yeah, and like you said in the beginning, there's seasons where you might track 5-10 bucks and never catch one just by what's on the other side of a log, or just happen to jump when they catch you. But the one day that it does, all the stars align, it's meant to be, and it happens, and
absolutely
that hooks people right there.
Look at you in Vermont. You got the one day, boom, track down a monster. Then you go to New Hampshire and you're just not catching up to them in the right spots, but like you were there every day with a chance. Just it's all about where you bump into them, you know, sometimes. But
that's it.
Persistence kills them, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
How many questions for you? How many 200-pounders do you have you taken over the years?
Killed 5 over 200.
5. That's a good resume right there.
Yeah.
Every state?
Good.
No, actually, they're all in Maine.
Maine?
All in Maine, and I've killed quite a few 190s in New Hampshire, in Vermont, but I've never broke the 200.
When you were showing us those, you got 190 on that one downstairs, 190 upstairs.
Yeah, my biggest rack was that New Hampshire deer, and that one was 190 on the nose.
Is that the one that's upstairs that you got scored? What that score was?
142 3/8.
It looks bigger than that, but that thing is just beautiful. It's got mass, tines,
everything. It was a nice deer.
You down in the Acorns at all, or are you up further north?
Further north.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. No, that deer, I know you said you wanted to hear the story
let's hear that.
one. Yeah. But he, it was funny because I was hunting again with my brother-in-law. He had killed a big one a day or two before that, and he was just riding roads, checking where the deer were. And so we went up. I went in my truck, he went in his, and he took off. So I'm going to go check this area. And I had rode around all day the day before, and I had not checked this little half-mile road. It's just dead end. I said, it's only half mile. I'm not going to check it. I should have checked it. End of the day, I come out, so I'm going to check it. It was just bugging me. I go up there. Yep. Sure enough, that morning, had I checked it, a big one had crossed. Ugh. I was like, shit. I said, well, I'm coming back tomorrow, so I'll check it tomorrow. So sure enough, I go up in the morning. I went up there, but he didn't cross it. But then the lower road was right across from it on the right side. I went on there, and he had crossed it. But it was all wind blown. The wind was blowing really hard that day. And I looked at it, and it was like, I don't think that track's that old. You really have to look to see a track. But I followed it in the woods a little ways, and as soon as they got a little cover, it freshened up quite a bit. I was like, I can catch this deer. So first thing I did is I took off, rode the rest of the road. I knew the road split to the left and split to the right, and I knew he was on the right side, so I just did that little loop. It was maybe a mile long, Got to the end of it, and no track. I'm like, well, he didn't cross it, or he stayed between the river and the road, and there's a little patch of woods there, and he must have walked along that and then up the mountain.
Yep.
So I get out of my truck, park in the log yard, and I don't know if you want me to say this, but I went out and took a dump because I had to go. So I walk in the woods. I'm walking like towards where the buck was, and I had to go like really bad by then.
Part of it.
Yeah. So I get there and I do my business, and I said, well, I'm gonna make a loop. So I keep going, like on the end of the road, keep going, make my loop all the way back to where the track was. I get all the way back to where the track was, and I hadn't cut it. And I'm like, what in the frig? Did I miss it on the road? So I was like, well, I knew where I'd cut it on the road. So I go back to the road, get on his track. And I said, I'm going to take him from here. So we go down maybe 200 yards to the river. It's a pretty big river. Get across that. Start heading up the bank. Now my truck is right here. It's 300 yards from me. The deer is headed right for it. It's like, I must have missed seeing his track from the road. It was just wind blowing. I said, but I better take it slow because he might be right here.
Just in case, yeah.
So I'm two-stepping it, and I'm looking up at him, and I see the silhouette of his rack against the sky.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's him right there. And then, of course, I make out his throat patch and put the peep on him. Boom. Never got up.
Wow.
I get up there. I get to the deer, and I look, and I can see my truck. And when I had gone to the bathroom, I had gone between halfway from where the deer was bedded to my truck. It was probably 50 yards. That deer had to have seen me. He laid right there, never moved. That's why I told you it was an important part of the story.
Yeah.
But he never moved. He knew I was there. And the only thing I can think is he was dead tired. He just did not want to get up.
Just letting you go by and do your thing. And
he figured he was safe. But I came from the lower side, and he was looking at me.
So he's back looking at your truck that way.
No, he was facing.
He was
the
still
lower.
facing down.
Yeah, he was looking at me when I shot him. But he couldn't have missed seeing me walk
doing your
near
business.
him. Yeah, it's like, how did I do that?
That's incredible.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, what you got?
Yeah, this isn't a popular topic, but you get that shitty feeling out in the woods, and then you take care of business, and that first quarter mile after that, you feel like $1 million. You're at your best.
That's true. Got the skip in your step going on.
That's funny,
you just lost a couple pounds. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Flying through the woods now. Jeez. So you saw that outline of the rack on the sky.
That's what I saw first. You
Yep.
know, when I finally made up my mind, so if I didn't miss his track, which I was pretty sure I didn't, he's got to be between me and the truck.
That's unbelievable.
And I was like, he's got to be right here. Then I really started looking, and I could see tines sticking up because he was bedded in some firs.
Yep.
And they were only maybe 3 feet tall, and he was right in the middle of them.
Jesus.
And when I made out the rack, then I could make out his face. But had I not seen the rack, I wouldn't have seen him. He was just too covered.
Yeah.
And then I could see the white of his throat patch, and I was like, well, I know that's his neck, so boom.
Not too often you see the antlers first.
No.
You know?
No.
Huh.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and you're not missing that rack. 142 inches. I mean, that's a beautiful rack.
Yeah,
too.
he was a nice one.
Yeah,
Jeez.
really cool.
And
really
then
cool.
the buck to the right of that one upstairs, that was a main buck, right? That was another 200-pounder?
Yep, 206.
That's a good one,
Yep.
too. Yeah.
Yep.
He
That
must have scored
one,
pretty high, too, as well. He's got a big
I
rack
never
on
had him scored.
Yeah.
No, typical 8.
Yep.
That deer, I'd pretty sure it was the same deer. I was hunting Maine, and I cold tracked him for about 3 hours in the morning.
Okay.
And it wasn't getting any fresher, and he started heading up a mountain, and I'm like, I'm not catching this deer today. He's just way too far ahead of me, but I know where he's going. So I got back in my truck. I went all the way around the mountain, and I started heading up the mountain to see if I could pick him up fresh. I'm about halfway up, and it's in hardwoods. Pretty nice. It was a mix, but mostly hardwood. And I see movement, and I look, and there he is. He's walking right down the mountain towards me.
Boy.
And it's sunshiny day. You know, it's snow on the ground. And here I am, I got my orange on. I'm kind of open. I mean, I ain't near a tree. I'm like right out in the open. And he's coming. I was going to shoot him at about 100 yards. Like, no, he's coming your way, dummy. Just let him come. So I did. And he come, and that deer walked out, I shit you not, here to that tree, which is about 25 feet.
Wow.
He stops. He comes into the clearing with me. He looks at me, puts his head down, and keeps walking. Boom. So he looked right at me. I'm all in orange. 25 feet away, he didn't see me.
They don't
Looked
see
right through you?
Looked right through me. Just, he knew. He said, well, that's kind of weird. And then,
whatever.
I didn't move, so he didn't know. So,
yeah.
I'm convinced deer don't see orange.
They don't.
They don't.
I don't see it. I'm colorblind.
It's the same as that snow cam. You get just those shades, those lighter shades, they look right through you.
Yep.
It's incredible how that is.
Yep.
Which makes you wonder about the green and black check and stuff. But hey, I mean, $1 million have been killed in that. So it's like,
all I know is don't wear blue. That's one thing that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
But everything else just kind of fades in.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, their visions.
Especially if it's bright and sunny like that, the orange you can't see it.
No.
I mean, if you're, I assume I see a little bit similar to deer, but
Yeah.
you just, it just doesn't seem to like have that. It doesn't pop, you know.
Yeah, they focus on movement mainly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, no matter whatever you're wearing, if you're not moving, they're gonna have a hard time seeing you.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's not like turkeys. Turkeys seem to see you no matter what. It's like
They see everything.
Pick everything out. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
But deer, they'll look at you and it's like, it might be a little odd to them, but they don't put it together.
Yeah.
No.
You know.
No.
But
that's
if you move, it's done.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's crazy. And what was your best Vermont book? Is that the one that was downstairs lip curling? The lip curl mount?
Yeah, biggest rack. I killed 2 of them over a 190 right on the nose, but they had shitty racks.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that one is the best rack, and that one was Thanksgiving Day. Well, I think I said it before, but I knew he was in there.
You hunted for what, 2 days? You said before.
Yeah. I'd hunted him for a couple days. I kept seeing his track, but never fresh. I couldn't get him going. You know, I make big loops, and I knew he was in there. And it's not a huge pack of woods, and there's other guys hunting it. But I figured Thanksgiving Day, you know, everybody's home having Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
I said, yeah, if I'm going to go after him, I'm going to go on Thanksgiving Day. So I did, anyways, and hunted him all day. Couldn't get him going. Kept seeing his track. He made a million tracks the night before, during the night, and there's a big area that's all swamp, and he was all around it and through it, and I was on the edge of it heading to the truck. I said, well, okay, I got to get back for Thanksgiving supper. I'll be back truck at dark, so I'll just start heading that way. Can't get him going. And I get, I don't know, halfway back to my truck, and there's a track coming out of that swamp with a doe. I was like, oh, okay, we're in business.
Yeah.
So he's headed to the left, headed down the mountain, kind of in the swampy area. So I took it, and then he turns, heads right to my truck. I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna cross the road and either get spooked or start running across the road and stuff.
Yep.
They tend to do that a lot. If they cross the road, they might start running and run for a mile before they slow down. And but anyways, he didn't. He got, I don't know if he smelled my truck or the road or something spooked him, but he stopped. You see, he clearly stopped, banged the sharp left, and they headed straight down on the same side. I was like, oh, that's cool. He didn't cross. And got going on him, and I looked to the left. It wasn't very far, and I could see a bank, and I could see where 2 deer had walked up this bank, in the snow. And so I walked over there, and sure enough, it was his track. They had gone down and come back up, so I freshened it up again. Crawled to the top, and I was expecting to see him, and I saw something break to the left, and I thought he was either a coyote or another deer, but it weren't him, because he was completely opposite direction, and his track was going to the right, and whatever I saw was on the left. So I'm going to stay on his track because I think it was just a different deer or something. So I went about 20 yards to the right and stopped, and I saw a deer walking towards me. Put the gun on it. It was the doe. And of course I'm thinking he's right behind her. Nothing. It's like, well, maybe he was in front of her. So I couldn't see him to the left at all because it was a big fir tree. So I stepped around it and I stopped and I just looked where I thought he should be, and sure enough, he just picked up his head and looked over. He had his ass to me. He looked over his shoulder, and he saw me move, and he just looked at me. And it's like the last couple minutes of shooting light, and it's pretty dim in there because it's pretty thick, and I could see rack, and I was like, that's him for sure. So I shot and just disappeared, and I waited maybe 10 seconds, and I saw a deer take off, and I was like, I think that was the doe, and I kept seeing a stick moving. I was like, he's right there.
Excellent.
He just kept kicking. I was like, good, he's right there. So I walked up there, and sure enough, he was laying there, and stuck it right behind his ribs, forward, and he dropped. Yeah. Right there.
Leftovers that night, or did you make dinner?
No, we.
You had the whole Thanksgiving crew come out and drag him out for you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was a fun night. The kids,
that's awesome.
Everybody's waiting at home, so they knew I was late. Of course, I dragged them as far as I could, and I said, well, I'm going to be late one way or the other, so I'll leave them here.
Yep.
And so what am I thinking? I got a house full of strapping young boys and girls. I said, they're coming with me. So we had our Thanksgiving supper, and they were pretty excited. And we drove out there. I don't know what time we got home, midnight or so. And the kids were just dragging that deer and singing all the way. And and I didn't have to drag, and I could hardly keep up to them. They're dragging so fast.
That's awesome.
Belly full of turkey, just ripping on it.
I said, you guys are coming to Maine with me next year.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Oh, man, I got a question for you. This is kind of out of my own curiosity because some stuff I've seen and talking to other people. In the last, 5 years, where are you killing most of your bucks as far as height? Like, you killing them up high? You killing them lower, middle? You have a trend you've seen in the last, 5 to 10 years? You're kind of all over the place.
The last 2 years, I've killed them low.
Low? Okay.
But I wasn't tracking. I had, not this last season before, I tracked a good one all morning, lost snow. Typical 11 o'clock, sun comes out, lost it. Making a big swing. I was down low, just killing out the day, scouting again, and I was in a clear cut, and buck just running right in front of me. And he wasn't running because of me. He was kind of running broadside. He was just chasing does and whatnot. And I had, there again, one split second, make up your mind, you going to shoot him or not, and shot him. And it was 185-pound 8-pointer.
Nice buck.
Nice rack.
Yeah.
It was a nice deer. I was pretty happy with him. And, so that was low. And then last year I shot one. In the morning, I was telling you about that other buck. I see 3 deer, and one was a pretty good buck, and that was high.
Yeah.
But then when I shot one later that day, it was low. Next to that one was right next to the truck. I was just coming out. I was done for the day, and kind of like whistling on my way out, and buck takes off. I was like,
ran right into one. Happens when you least expect it. Yeah.
But yeah, I typically I hunt high. I always find a lot of sign down low. You're going to find the big buck sign down low because that's where they're romping around. That's where they're feeding, chasing does. Typically, when I'm looking for when he's bedded, I go high. I don't think he's going to be bedded low. Not until he's breeding them and he doesn't want to leave them. So preseason, I don't spend much time down low. I've already done that. I already know there's deer around, so now I'm going to try to find the buck. I want to be high.
His little bedroom area where he's hanging. Where he likes.
I want to. Even if I stumble on him, and there's no snow on the ground, I like to go high. I've killed a lot that way, and I always they're kind of predictable when they start heading and start doing the weave and the feed and say, okay, he's high. He's going to be right here. And you but down low, it's a little different story. And they're harder to predict, I think, when they're down lower.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But
you do any bow hunting or any settings, or are you pretty much now just tracking?
No, I used to be an avid bow hunter. Just loved it. Killed a lot of small bucks. The spikes and 4-pointers, and I killed some nice 160, 170 pound deer with a bow too. Just loved it. But the kids were. I had four kids, and they're all playing sports, and it's like you gotta decide: am I gonna go sit in the tree stand or watch my kid's soccer game? And I wanted to be hunting, but I wanted to also be involved with that. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna give it up. So I gave it up for probably 15 years. Didn't bow hunt because I just wanted to be a part of that. The kids growing up and trucking around all the games, all that, and I knew there'd be time later for hunting. So I've gotten back into it in the last 5 years. I haven't killed one yet. Every year I pass up some does. I've only shot one doe in my life. And I had a doe permit.
Really? Only one doe?
Yeah.
Nice.
I pass them up every year. And I don't know what it is about it, but I always think, oh, there's a big buck behind it, so don't shoot it.
Hey.
But I got to get into that habit of just pulling the triggers. Last year, I passed up, 5 or 6 does, and I saw like 9 bucks last year. All small bucks, and some of them were the same bucks, but I was having a blast.
Yeah,
didn't
what
want
it's all about.
Didn't want to ruin it. Kind of, if you shoot a deer, it kind of spooks the area out.
For sure.
So I said I don't care. I still got all deer season to go, so I let them go. But this year I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to pop one.
What's your preliminary plan this year? As far as, do you have a kind of what you're going to do if conditions are right, or a goal, or what's the plan this year?
Well, I've got a friend from New York that I met through the videos. He contacted me, wanted to learn about tracking and stuff, and we talked quite a bit. He's a really, really nice kid, really good deer hunter. He shoots deer anyways without my help, but he wants to get into tracking, so he invited me to go to New York. And I haven't been there in a few years. And I did a couple times, but I really didn't want to go unless I had somebody else to go with. And it's not because I'm scared, but if you get a deer way in the back, it's a bitch to get him out.
Yeah.
So I was like, because I've hunted a couple times, like, I'm like 3 mountain ranges over.
Yeah.
If I get one, it's gonna kill me to get him out now. I'm pushing 60 here. Having somebody else to go with, at the end of the day, hey, I got one. Can you give me a hand? Is going to be important. So I want to try the Adirondacks this year. I think I've always wanted to do it, and I think he's invited me to go up with him, and I think I might try that. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think I'm going to wait for Maine till the snow hits. I think I'm going to hit New Hampshire.
You got nothing to prove in Maine, man.
Well,
you've really done well there.
Yeah. I just love Maine. I really do. There's something. It's almost magical in a way. It really. And just something about loading up the truck to go to Maine, it's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
But, and a lot of guys feel that way about the Adirondacks,
for sure.
Because I think that's now even more remote, so I'm looking forward to really getting in there and probably feeling the same way about that, I think.
Some great bucks out there, too. Big rack bucks.
Some really nice racks. Seeing some good deer coming out of there.
We were up in Maine last year, and our podcast stuff was malfunctioning, but I can't wait to do some podcasts up there when we're up there this year.
That'd be fun.
I love that stuff. Listening to the guys when they're up
Deer
there.
camp
Rodney
podcasts are different.
Did a couple on the way
Elmers do it.
to Maine, and I'm like, oh, those are so cool.
Yeah,
it's just the excitement of getting up there.
It's just like it's the whole entire vibe and culture of going up to Maine. Like you're in Eustis or where we run around, and it's just everybody up there is to hunt and just to have a good time and stuff. So
and the potential of a 200-pounder is very real.
Oh yeah,
we're in Vermont. It's like there's definitely some 200-pounders, but boy, they're harder and harder to get every year.
It's true.
Right.
New Hampshire too, and get some awfully great deer, but they're hard to come by. They're more pressured for
Big
sure.
time.
Yeah, definitely.
time.
Speaking of that, I got a couple more questions for you, and we'll start wrapping it up. But being that you hunt, the big three, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, what's your most favorite part of each state to hunt, and what's your least favorite part of each state to hunt, as far as the hunting itself, not like the place or anything like that, just
geographically? Well, I like a mix of hardwood, softwood, if that's what you mean. And I like mountains. Yeah. I'm getting to the point where climbing those 3,000 footers 3 or 4 times in the day is getting harder and harder. They're getting steeper, believe it or not. Every year they get a little steeper. But I know, the reality is that, how many more years am I going to be able to hike those 3,000 footers? And, I think I can get a few more years in. But I'm looking at areas now that, if it's more roly-poly, that's not going to hurt my feelings. It's still high, but
softer
it's not.
hills, still mountains, but
So I'm looking at, when I'm looking at Google Earth, I'm like, okay, this looks pretty good, and I could spend a day in here looking for deer and find something. But I think it seems like I was talking to the boys, about it before, but it seems like wherever I hunt, I'm either going up or down.
Yep.
It's never very
flat country.
And that's pretty typical Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, in the high country. But that's tough hunting. It really is. Yeah. I'm seeing some of these videos like, God, they don't hunt anywhere near where I am because my territory don't look anything like that.
Yeah.
But they're doing well, and that's where I like to go. It's hard to. You do what you know in the areas and it's hard jumping into a new area. I always figured it takes me about 3 years to figure out an area. I'll hunt it. A lot of times I've killed deer the first year, but kind of by accident. You go in and if you're lucky, track. If you jump one or whatever. But to really understand what the deer do and how the deer use the area, it takes me about 3 years to figure that out. Yep. Where do I think I'm going to cut a track? Because I typically don't ride the roads. I mean, if the snow hits, I go to where I'm going to hunt. If I catch a track across the road, I'm not going to pass it up.
Yep.
But I'm not going to ride around for hours doing that. It's just not my style.
Yep.
So, I pick out all these places ahead of time, and I go in, and then I'll start my loop, and I'll go as far as I think I need to, then start looping around, and then hopefully get something going. But, for some reason, I always seem to like to go high, and if there's a mountain around, I got to climb it. I don't know why, but a lot of trackers like that.
Yep.
You just gotta go.
You see that, and you gotta go. There's that draw to it. I feel that. Yeah.
When see what's up there.
Yeah. When you said you were looking at Google Earth before the season, scouting stuff, is there like a must? Like you have to see something on Google Earth that's like I gotta go check that out, like a swamp or some type of terrain feature. You just kind of just roll with it.
Well, you need I like the hardwood softwood mixed with some softwood. A big track of softwood where they can hide and feel comfortable and safe. It's hard to kill a deer if it stays in the softwood all the time. I've done that too, and it's like almost impossible, and you get really discouraged even tracking. You can track them all day in a softwood swamp and not see them. It's so thick.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So
We
you've
know
got
that.
to, so when I'm looking for an area, I want that mixture of hardwood, softwood, probably a nice softwood top, something solid that's got a lot of cover,
Yep.
but not so big that they can stay there all day and never
Yeah.
come out and you never see them.
Yep.
Yeah. Good point.
Or something you think you can push through and, push them out the other side if you have to. But yeah, that's what I look for. I like the mixed woods. Typically there's cuttings everywhere now where I hunt. That's why I think the Adirondac's going to be a little different because, just not used to that style. So it's going to be a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect much, the first couple of years, just going to be learning. But
Yeah.
but guys are killing them over there. They're doing something over there, right?
Mhm.
Because there's some big deer. That's
Give
for
you a
sure.
new adventure, something new
Yeah.
to look at. And
Yeah, never stop learning.
Yeah.
Learn different areas. And I was really discouraged last year with the amount of people I was seeing, not in Maine but in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Because I tagged out early in Maine and went to New Hampshire, and areas that I've hunted for years, it's just getting pounded. And I don't blame them. They're doing the same thing I'm doing. But it's like
Makes it hard.
those deer, and their deer are there, but boy, they're
Yeah.
some spooky.
Mhm.
If you don't kill them that first week, then first week of snow, then they get really
Yeah.
pushed around and it's super alert. And
Yep.
you're still going to go because you got to hunt somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Yep. For sure.
always looking at areas there. I think there's less pressure,
Mhm.
harder to get to. Maybe a lot of people like to ride the roads, and it's a great way to do it. But people are willing to sacrifice and maybe walk in 2 miles and then start their hunt.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I look for, and try to find some remoteness.
Yep.
Try to find a stupid one because I need a dumb deer. Stand still.
Same here.
One that hasn't seen a human in a while. Yeah, I
Same
feel that.
here.
So got one more question for you. Kind of asked this to a lot of guys at the end. Being that you got some experience and a lot of good bucks under your belt, for someone, because we have a lot of first time people that are getting into tracking and stuff that listen to the podcast. What's your one piece of advice, if you can give one piece of advice to somebody that wants to get into it and wants to learn it? What would you say to them?
The first thing I would say is definitely listen to these podcasts. Watch the videos. That's your best source of information. That's where I learned about a lot of the things I was doing wrong. There's some, especially going too slow.
Mhm.
I think I tracked deer for probably 10 years where I was sure the deer was right in front of me, and I would creep along and never see him and never spook him, never jump him. And I actually talked to R.G. Bernier about it, and he goes, "You're going too slow." He said, "You need to step on it." He said, "I'd rather jump a deer and see it than never catch him." Right? It's like, yeah, it makes sense. So then I said, okay, I need to go. So put the speed on. I like to take the first half mile, half hour, whatever it works out to be. Figure out what the deer's doing when you first get his track. Don't go fast. He might be right there, like that one right next to the truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So figure out what he's doing. You're gonna learn him pretty quick, like what his habits are, what kind of a mood is he in. Is he if he's jumping over branches and he's running for a while, you're not catching that deer anytime soon.
Yep.
He's going.
Mhm.
And if he's a 180 pounder in the prime of his life, you're probably not going to catch him that day.
Yeah.
So either look for another one or find one that's I think that's why the Benoits have done so well is they've always targeted the really big ones. Well, those really big ones are like an old man.
Mhm.
They're heavy and they're tired. So they can be caught. Whereas that 180 pounder that goes all day is a much harder deer to kill.
Yeah.
And that from November 5th to the 25th, right in that time slot when they're really running.
Mm-hmm.
Jason does are really hard to kill. So I'd say size up the deer, give him some time when you first start. Figure him out. Don't go too fast at first, but then if he's sending it, and you send it right behind him.
Yep.
Then look for those turns. If he's starting to turn, one way or the other, and he's feeding, put the brakes on. Right. Go slow next until you figure him out again. What's he doing now? Is he moving again? Did he actually bed after he fed, or did he not? Or is he just searching?
Mm-hmm.
And time. Give yourself time to do it. I think that one of the biggest factors that kills deer is time in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a great hunter to kill a deer if you're in the woods, but you got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And having that time off is at the right time is really important. If you can swing it, your schedule where take time off when the snow hits, then do it then. But if you can't, like I did for 25 years, you set ahead of time, you take your chances,
Mm-hmm.
but try to, maybe hunt the late season. Set up your vacation for the late season so that chances are you'll have snow on the ground if you're really serious about tracking.
Yep.
You're going to kill a lot of deer that first and second week, too, even on bare ground because they're stupid. They haven't been hunted yet, and sometimes they'll just stand there and look at you.
Yep.
But if you're serious about tracking, I would recommend, hunt the later part, save your time for that. Get after them when there's probably going to be snow on the ground.
Be snow on the ground, and they're a little more tired at that rate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, catching a post-rut deer is a big change. But have you guys noticed, it seems like the last few years, even late season Vermont muzzleloader deer are running still
Still rutting hard, aren't they?
It's like, holy shit, you're supposed to be laying down here taking a break.
Yep.
No, they just keep going and go, just like they're in the middle of the rut, and it seems like the last few years it's been,
I don't
know if it's the easy beginning of the season because they've been fairly warm and they're just,
well, I heard somebody talking. They said too that buck to doe ratio is so out of whack somewhere that some of the does aren't getting bred right off, so they're coming into heat again. So like the bucks are just as long as those does aren't bred, it seems so it's taking them longer to breed them all because maybe the buck to doe ratio is out of whack. But I don't know if that's true or not.
It could be. It seems like when I was hunting, we'd always hunt Maine, but we always hunted Maine muzzleloader really late, and we found that. There's a lot less people in the woods because everybody's either sick of it or tagged out.
Yep.
And so we'd always hunt that week, and we loved it. But the deer always seemed to be tired. When you found a good track, they're harder to find, but when you did find them, usually you catch them.
Wow.
But now it's like the game's changed. It's not like that anymore, and I don't know why. I think it has something to do with the weather, and they're just healthier.
Warming and
maybe the rut is getting later. I'm not really sure what's going on, but I've noticed that it seems like they don't. I've killed a few that were so tired. They keep bedding. You can predict it, but it seems like lately it's like they don't do that. They just keep going and run, and they jump over a tree, and they still run and run and run, and they just don't seem to want to slow down, even in late season where you think they should be, but they haven't done it yet.
I agree with that. Yeah. That is weird. There's got to be some biological reason behind it, or something of some sort. But
you mentioned R.G. Bernier, and he, as a lot of people know, he passed away. But I feel like he's kind of not been forgotten about. But boy, he had some great books and some great. I mean, he was a great guy, and he a hell of a tracker in his own right.
Yep.
Anybody that can get a hold of his old books, I mean, they're definitely worth a read.
Yeah, I've got his books and read them, and I was fortunate to talk to him a couple times at the different shows and whatnot. But really nice guy.
Too.
Yeah, really super nice guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't really brag much, but his stats. I think he had 17 years in a row. He killed something over 220 or something like that.
17 years.
Time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like, holy cow.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Even in Maine, I mean. Yeah. A lot of people, there's a lot of good hunters in Maine and Vermont that probably somewhat similar to that, but man, that's a hard feat to accomplish.
Yeah, he's gone too soon, that's for sure,
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when he passed away. I didn't think he was even sick, but I guess he was.
Yep. Yep. So,
well, we've been out of here for a little while now, so I guess we'll start wrapping it up, but you got anything else to add? Anything you want to pop in there? I guess we'll put your YouTube channel this in the link in the description and stuff so people can watch those if they haven't seen it yet. But
I'm gonna make my wife watch that one tonight.
The Good Wife?
The Good Wife.
I don't think
she's gonna start dragging now.
I don't think it's gonna work, but
it's worth a shot though. Why not?
Hey, anything that gets me home quicker, she might be willing to do it.
Oh man! All right. Well,
thank you very much. This has been really enjoyable.
It's a lot of fun.
We appreciate it. We'll do another one with you sometime, and
it'd be awesome.
See you guys on the next one.
Thanks.
See you.
You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear.